Recording. Hello. This is Danielle. Danielle is the best.
According to her, at least.
According to Danielle, Danielle is the best.
I wouldn't dare wish to cross her on that, lest I shatter her fragile ego.
That's because you know I'm the best.
Yes, that's the real reason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Danielle.
I'm Sam.
And this is the podcast where one of us shares a weird piece of media with the other who has no experience with it.
That's me today, Danielle. I am so inexperienced. I just have to get in there and get my feet wet with whatever you're doing. I'm going to wade around in that little shallow pool of media you're going to share with me today. Like a toddler learning to swim.
Oh my gosh. There was like 4 combined into one.
Look, no one mixes a metaphor poorly like me. I get in there and I knead it around like a piece of dough.
Alright, stop. Today, Sam, I'm going to share with you something you're actually a little familiar with.
Ooh.
Hopefully not too familiar with.
Oh.
It is the 2020 novel, Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline.
I am not at all familiar with it.
Hooray!
Yay! I mean, I did read Ready Player 1.
You did.
This might offend some people. I was not the biggest fan of that book. I thought it was fine, but not particularly interesting.
Please don't write us.
It's a fine book. I don't think it tickled my nostalgia bone because I didn't have that shared reference as many other people. So I don't think it resonated with me. I was not the target audience. Let's put it that way.
You were not. I realized this, but unfortunately for you, I am going to have you do a quick summary of the first one for me.
Oh,
if
no!
You can remember
you dastardly person! How dare you!
Because I knew you read it because we talked about it.
All right. Okay, gosh, it's been a few years.
It's just short. It's short but sweet.
All right, so there is this guy. I don't remember his name.
Wade,
right. And he is a gunter, which is short for egg hunter, which is about the level of abbreviations that we do in our special and short titles for this podcast. So I can't really complain about that.
I can't believe you remembered Gunter, but not Wade.
Well, one of those is much more memorable than the other. Like Wade, sure, but Gunter, you're going to remember that. Anyway, the whole world is dystopia. It's run by megacorps. There is this virtual reality sphere that is kind of like what's in Snow Crash, but more corporate. Mm-hmm. Well, not more corporate, but more centralized and controlled by one company. And the whole point is they go to school in this world. He lives in a trailer park and he goes to this virtual reality world to escape.
Do you remember the name of the virtual reality world?
The OASIS?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah!
Ding, ding, ding.
And so an egg hunter is that the creator of this virtual reality world left behind a bunch of Easter eggs / clues that whoever found all the clues first in this race would gain ownership of the company / virtual reality world and become like the richest person, most powerful person on the planet immediately.
Do you remember the name of the creator?
No, not at all.
Wah, wah, wah.
I got Oasis and Gunter. And I don't remember anyone else's name. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Halliday.
Halliday, sure. Anyway, the point is, it's a bunch of, D&D and classic arcade game references and Back to the Future, and they do a whole thing with War Games, the movie. So it's all just a bunch of nostalgia basking to do this. And Wade gets involved in this competition. He is one of the first to uncover the first key. And there's another Gunter who he doesn't know at first, but is a girl. Oh no, a girl in the virtual reality space. This is one of the reasons I had a problem with the book. Because I don't think it did its female characters a whole lot of justice.
I can't tell you if it does more in this, so.
Yeah. But regardless, it kicks off a competition between him and the big evil corporation that's trying to brute force their way to the win to take control of the virtual space and turn it into a big commercial space. Yada, yada, yada. Shenanigans ensue. He spent some time out of the virtual reality world, which is actually one of the more interesting parts of the book, I think, when he's not in the virtual reality world. But in the end, he finds the key. He takes control of the world. Halliday's actually still alive, I think, right?
I don't know the answer to that. Halliday's definitely dead by the second book.
Okay,
Spoilers.
maybe he's not still alive, but there's some sort of twist where one of the virtual reality people is like Halliday's assistant or something and is helping them. Point is,
it's his avatar. that like kind of like lives on
right.
as a version of Halliday. That's who you're thinking of.
Yes, that's probably it. Thank you, Danielle. Sorry, like I said, it's been a few years.
His name's like Anorak. He's a wizard.
Okay, I'll believe it. The point is, at the end of the book, Wade now has control of the Megacorp, and he's like, I'm going to keep it free and open for all people. He's like, a whole populist message there.
And this is why Sam has the virtue of recall.
If you have listened to our book read extra, if you haven't, you can find them by subscribing to our Patreon.
Nice plug. Good job.
Thank you.
That was not on purpose. I was not trying to like feed that in there.
Look, I am going to be shameless as much as possible.
All right. Wonderful job, Sam. I'm super proud of you.
That was pretty disjointed.
That was better than I probably could have done prior to reading the second book. I'll warn you that I have not finished the second book.
Oh.
So it's kind of
a little bit. This is going to be part 1, huh?
Yes, it's definitely going to be, I'm going to say 2 parts, maybe 3, but probably 2.
All right.
And I'm almost done, but not quite. And so a little bit like your starlight barking, I don't know where this is going. So
that's the best way to be, Danielle. You can take this journey with me.
Absolutely. I'm going to send you the summary, though.
Okay, I love it. I can't wait.
We'll start there.
All right. It says, an unexpected quest, 2 worlds at stake. Are you ready? Days after winning OASIS founder James Halliday's contest, Wade Watts makes a discovery that changes everything. Hidden within Halliday's vaults, waiting for his heir to find, lies a technological advancement that will once again change the world and make the OASIS 1,000 times more wondrous and addictive than even Wade dreamed possible. With it comes a new riddle and a new quest, a last Easter egg from Halliday hinting at a mysterious prize, and an unexpected, impossibly powerful, and dangerous new rival awaits, one who will kill millions to get what he wants. Wade's life and the future of the OASIS are again at stake, but this time the fate of humanity also hangs in the balance. Really up in the stakes for this one, aren't they?
They are.
In the first one, I think the biggest stakes was, one, they killed his aunt. That was not cool.
No. Some people definitely died in the first one.
But like the big thing was, oh no, the OASIS will become commercialized and people won't be able to go into it without paying or whatever. It's going to be like how American ISPs work with internet access.
Oh, yes. The stakes in this are much, much, much higher.
Right. Well, and again, I don't want to downplay it because the OASIS was basically like the central universe. Everyone went to school in it. They commuted in it. They worked in it. So it would have been devastating to many people, much like how internet access these days should be more universal.
Soapbox, Sam.
Look. If we're going to talk about this cyberpunk-ish technological world, I'm going to plug for net neutrality and internet access. So
yeah, you tell them.
Yeah, don't write me.
All right. Anyway, I kind of want to skip ahead since that summary tells you a little bit, but I will not.
Please, I want to hear it all from word 1.
All right, so this starts, it says cutscene at the top of the page, and it's backstory to the actual plot.
That's pretty good. I love it. Great. Perfect.
Yeah. So it's been 9 days since the end of Ready Player One. Shoto, H, and Samantha have all gone back home, so Wade's all alone.
So Shoto, H, and Samantha are his friends who were his Gunter buddies?
Yep, from the original.
Okay. Just making sure, because I remember the names I didn't get.
Yes, those are the names. Wade logs back into the OASIS for the first time since the battle, and he now has the robes of Anorak, which is the wizard, James Halliday's avatar.
A quick thing, Danielle. If what Danielle is saying sounds like total gibberish to you, you might just want to watch a summary or read the Spark Notes for Ready Player One.
Or watch the movie, save yourself some grief.
Yeah, watch the movie, whatever. Read the book, whatever it takes, just to... Because my brief summary is not going to clear this up.
No. So he has the robes of Anorak. I'll try to explain as I go along if something was not covered by your summary.
Okay,
and
sure.
These robes give him basically unlimited access. Godlike power is what it says.
So he's like the admin of the OASIS.
Essentially, yes. And so he's teleported himself into the study of the castle there, and he's admiring the Easter egg that he found at the end of the last book.
That was the main prize that granted him ownership of OASIS.
Yes, absolutely. And he notices an inscription on it that wasn't there before.
It's always something with these people.
It is. It reads GSS, 13th floor. There's a vault number and a passcode. That's apparently where the vaults are kept. So he logs instantly out of the OASIS, runs for the elevator, makes his way up to the 13th floor vault room, and inside the vault listed is another egg.
Like a physical egg.
Like another silver big egg, just like in the first one.
Right, because but it's physical because he's not in the digital world anymore.
Correct. It's a physical, actual silver egg.
Okay, cool.
And I'd like to say this is page 5 that we're on right now, and I'm going to ignore a lot of the references in this. As you mentioned, the first book has a lot of references, pop culture commentary, all of that. Unless it pertains to the plot or I find it particularly interesting, I'm going to not mention them because we don't have the time.
Right. And that was, the first book is, I would say, at best, 50% plot, 50% references, which is fine. It's just, that's the way it is.
Absolutely. But I would like to mention, because I think it's hilarious, that by page 5, we had at least Max Headroom, The 13th Floor, Matrix, Hitchhiker's Guide, 8675309, and Weebles Wobbles, but they don't fall down by page 5.
That's impressive.
That's why I can't mention every reference that's made in this book. I'm sorry, anybody who's a fan of this. He opens the egg, and inside is a headset. And it is the most advanced headset he's ever seen.
Like a VR headset for the OASIS, right?
Basically, yes. So the egg beeps and a little video pops up. And it's Halliday prior to his death. And he explains that the device is called an OASIS Neural Interface, or ONI. And
ONI!
It's ONI, I know. Which is how I said it the rest of the time when I read it.
Obviously, that's the correct choice.
It's the world's first fully functional, non-invasive brain-computer interface, and it allows OASIS users to have full sensory perception and allows you to think your actions and have them happen on screen.
So it's basically like a brain thought controller instead of a physical buttons controller.
Yes, and it can also record a user's experience, and that experience can be shared to others.
I don't like that. That's going to be used for porn immediately.
Oh, it pretty much is, but that they do kind of talk about that. This book gets into some interesting topics. But
that's cool. I mean, I appreciate that.
It tries to stay realistic to like what would happen if this actually existed.
You know what? I did appreciate that in the original as well as this one. Like the talk about commercialization and the corporate fighting over the OASIS were very true to life. So that was good.
Yeah, they get into a lot of the negative effects and positive effects of this. So it's kind of interesting. I actually am probably enjoying it more than I enjoyed the first one. Again, don't write us. Yeah. But it's an interesting book.
Yeah. Okay. I might have to check that one out then.
Yeah. Wade's pretty stoked about this. And Halliday explains that he knows this tech can both help or hurt the world, but it would kind of depend on the timing of when it's released. And so
basically, it's like any technology?
Yeah, but it's up to Wade and company to figure out if the world's ready for it. And I don't know if we should really put a bunch of 19-year-olds in charge of this.
Halliday, I got a problem with Halliday as a person because he seems to be shirking his responsibility at every turn. Gosh, this technology could really do great harm or it could be a great boon. I'm going to let some kids figure. I'm not going to bother to take responsibility for my invention. Let some other kids figure out what to do with it. Own your stuff, Halliday.
It actually gets almost worse. You're going to love this.
Uh-oh.
So Wade runs back to his office to try it, and Halliday has already emailed him from the past, has already emailed him documentation and schematics.
So he had an email set to what they do in an old movie, if I die, send this letter to the press or whatever.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So it's triggered by him opening the egg, I assume, or the video running. So a couple of things of note. If forcibly removing the headset while it's in use can cause brain damage.
Matrix rules, got it.
Yeah, it has titanium reinforced bands to stop this from happening. Also, sudden power outages can also cause the same effect, but it does have a backup battery that's supposed to allow for emergency logout as needed.
Smart.
Also, it can only be used for 12 hours consecutively, or it causes neural trauma.
How many times are they going to use for more than 12 hours? At the very end,
okay, here. We'll get there. So it logs you out automatically at 12 hours. You cannot log back in until 12 hours have passed, and then you're allowed to log back in.
Okay. I feel like someone's going to push the limits of that because they
get into that.
Okay, great. Can't wait.
Yes. The headset causes a sleep-like state while in use also.
Okay, cool. So far, this is like holodeck light. I gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
It's in your head holodeck.
So he's a little nervous with the wordings, but he decides to use it anyway, obviously.
Just alone in a room, he doesn't get his friends who are hey, I'm going to try this new technology out. Keep an eye on me. Something goes wrong.
He locks himself in his room, doesn't tell a single soul about it. Is I'm going to try this out. Halliday would have done all the tests on it. It'll be fine.
This is why you don't put teens in charge of things. Or any single individual having that kind of, just no.
Well, he doesn't care. He tries it. And when he logs in, the login screen reads Ready Player 2. So take a drink. The title of the book is in the book.
Why does it say Ready Player 2 on the login screen?
I assume because it's a new technology. Maybe it's because it used to say Ready Player 1. I don't know,
feel
Sam.
like it says Ready Player 2 just so they can have that title.
Yeah, probably. I also kind of was like, actually went back and read the paragraph before because I was like, why would it say that?
Because I think in the original book, it was called Ready Player One for the obvious reason that one of the first Gunter challenges, I'm going to say Gunter a lot, just deal with it. One of the first Gunter challenges was beating an arcade game. I don't remember which arcade game it was, but some classic arcade game. And it's like, oh, he approached the arcade cabinet and he's like, oh, on the screen it said Ready Player One. Like, this is it. This is starting the adventure. So this
is starting the second adventure, Sam. Ready Player
but why
2.
Put Ready Player 2 unless there were two controllers?
I don't know the answer to that question.
That's what I thought, Danielle.
So inside the Oasis, everything now feels real, as you would expect. So he runs around trying a bunch of stuff. He eats an apple. He's touching things. He's checking the pain sensors out, which don't allow for any real pain.
Sure.
Just minor. He also finds files installed of different people's experiences that he can try, like skydiving, kung fu fighting, etc. They're passive experiences.
Wait, are you saying that Wade knows kung fu?
No, I am saying that you can
Come on, I have the reference. In a book about all kinds of references, you had to let me do at least one Matrix reference.
I am saying that he can experience
I know,
it through the person
replays it for you
it.
like a recording. I gotcha.
But he actually gets to be the person in the recording. It's a passive thing.
It's like watching a point of view video of like a roller coaster, but you get all the sensation of it as well.
Absolutely. And it's like first person. And there are, of course, as you mentioned, files about sex in there as well, which he ignores at this point.
That does not seem true to life for a 19-year-old.
Well, he's in love with his girlfriend, quote unquote, and doesn't feel up for it yet.
Okay. You know,
just saying.
Wade, you are a better man than I.
So after he logs out of that, he brings it to the group for the other kids, and they agree to sell them. I mean, they had the option, but they decided to do it. Why?
Now, again, he has more money than, anyone else on the planet right now because he controls the single most important piece of infrastructure on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly they're not doing this because they need to raise money to save the rec center or whatever.
No, they're not doing it for money.
Are they doing it because they think it will improve the world?
Yeah, they think it's like a really amazing technology. They think it has a lot of multi-purpose use.
So
they
give
don't
it
really
away.
go into
Don't
it.
Sell it.
Well, yeah, but they sell it. They sell it for, I think in the book that does mention that they sell it for a really low price to begin with.
Okay. All right.
So, of course, they're wildly popular, but unexpectedly, when the Oasis reaches 7,777,777
just a bunch of sevens. Got it.
Yeah, simultaneous ONI users, a message appears on Halliday's website where the scoreboard from the previous game had been located. And
for reference, the scoreboard kept track of the Gunter team's rankings on who was the furthest along so far on reaching the prize.
Yes, Sam's going to be in charge of telling everybody the past story.
Apparently, because you're dropping the ball, Danielle.
Well, I thought it was pretty specific. We already referenced the game. Scoreboard from the game made sense.
Okay, sure. Maybe I'm giving our audience too little credit. I apologize.
No, feel free to explain. So the message reads, seek the 7 shards of the siren's soul on the 7 worlds where the siren once played a role. For each fragment, my heir must pay a toll to once again make the siren whole.
What?
That's what it says. Would you like me to read it again, Sam? I think I should get 10,000 points for saying all those S's.
You did really well. I was like, this is going to be a murder because I knew it was going to be some alliterative S thing, but you did it without the sibilant coming in. That was amazing.
Me and my lisp were really excited about that.
All right. Well, that's a great accomplishment, Danielle. I'm duly impressed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, you can send flowers and congratulatory notes to bookretorts.com.
All right. So it becomes known as the Shard Riddle and suggests obviously that there's some other Easter egg. And this begins again a full-scale search with a bunch of Gunters, Sam.
Oh, good. The Gunters are back. I was worried we wouldn't be able to use that word.
Wade then lets the readers know, he's kind of talking to the readers in this little section. He lets the readers know what he knows thus far, which is that the siren is likely Kira Morrow, who's Ogden's deceased wife. Ogden was the guy who, with Halliday, helped create the Oasis.
And didn't Halliday have a major crush on her?
Yeah, Halliday loved Kira, but it was Ogden's wife.
Yeah, so he's like,
and they all grew up together as teenagers.
It was weird. We'll leave it there.
It was. It does not get less weird in this book so far.
Oh, good. Because if it did, I'd be very disappointed in you picking this one.
Her D&D character was named Leucosia. I am not 100% sure on how to pronounce that. Feel free to correct me, everybody. It is Leucosia. It is a siren of Greek myth, and her Oasis avatar was named the same name. All right, now back to Wade.
Back to Wade. Okay, we talked about Kira.
Talked about Kira, who's a pretty main character in this book.
Okay. Is she still alive?
No, she passed away quite a while ago.
All right. So all the people are dead, and somehow she's the main character. Got it.
Yes, only Ogden is still alive.
Ah, right. One of them was. I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's the one. So Wade, I don't know if you remembered, but he struggled with the OASIS addiction prior to the ONI.
Yeah, I remember when he locked himself in a room and got all sad and depressed.
Right, and he definitely now has a problem because it's like full scale now. It's not even just like going into a video game.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's also become super obsessed with finding out about the 7 shards. But after quite a while, he can't find anything. He offers $1 billion to anyone that sends him a lead.
So he has like a tip line saying, call 1-800-WADE-WATTS for...
It's an email, but yes.
All right, Danielle. That doesn't sound catchy, but sure.
So 3 years passes, and that's where we are now in the story.
So he's 22 now.
Sure, I don't know how old he was when all this happened.
That's fair. All right. So he's 3 years older, still a young man.
They're all adults, so he's got to be 20-something.
Yeah.
He talks, there's many thousands of pages about his house and his cars and his cool stuff that he bought. I'm skipping all of that.
It's basically like, what they call, like, you watch like Cribs or something. It's like wealth porn or whatever. Lifestyle porn.
It's because he can't log back into his ONI because it hasn't been 12 hours yet. So he's like, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go check on my cars. I'm going to go look at all my cool stuff in my house. I'm going to let me tell the reader.
He sounds like he'd be really cool to hang out with.
But none of that matters because what he is concerned about is that there's an owners meeting scheduled for later that day. And it's going to be the first time that he will see Samantha in the last 3 months. So apparently all is not well in the Samantha Wade world.
Uh-oh, friction in paradise?
They barely had a relationship, and look. It's true, though. They had a week together. Like, they solve Halliday's riddle. They become owners of the company. They spend a week at Ogden's house. And then, like, the next 9 days later, he finds the ONI headset. And it seems like the relationship ended about there.
Well, to be fair, I think in the first book, the whole relationship was them hunting together.
Sure, but they supposedly fell in love in that week that they were at Ogden's.
I mean, that's a fair point. Teenagers, Danielle, we went over this.
So Samantha was very against the ONI. She was basically like, it's going to take over our worlds. This is bad. Like,
so she's the voice of reason in this book.
Yeah, kind of a little bit. I'm going to argue that like both Samantha and Wade are not the best characters. They're not my favorite people. I find them both kind of annoying and very sure of themselves with things that they have no right to be sure of. Yes.
Well, that's always a challenge. Again, it's been a while, but I do remember that there was a lot of that flexing and one-upsmanship in the original book. So
yeah, and it's not so much of that in this one. It's just they have two very different viewpoints. There is some validity to both of their viewpoints, which we'll get into. But this point,
they refuse to compromise at all.
They do. And at this point, he's pro-ONI, and so are H and Shoto. And she is against it because she believes, rightly so, that the world is full of all these terrible things, poverty, disease, all of that. And it's taking people further and further away from reality and allowing them not to deal with what's actually going on in the world.
To let them avoid the problems of the world by just no, not to pay attention to it. I'm going to plug back into my virtual world.
Absolutely. And then his argument is I grew up in a terrible environment, and the OASIS was one of the few things that kept me educated and kept me out of that terrible reality and gave me a chance to live a real life. And you lived in a suburban, middle upper class. So how do you have any say in this?
I have a better idea. Maybe I'm naive, but instead of offering $1 billion to someone to give you a tip about a video game puzzle, why not use that kind of money to help the people in poverty where you came from?
And so supposedly during this, because it goes over this in fairly great detail, it talks about all the different things that they have set up that they've put money towards. But at this point, because the earth is so badly off, it's kind of like the money just doesn't seem to make an impact no matter what they do at this point.
So the wealth gap is so enormous that even them pouring their vast fortunes into charitable works is not enough to help the unwashed masses.
It seems like it, yes.
This sounds like a place that you got to burn it down and start over.
Well, we kind of get into that. So, because the world's in such dire straits, she's become a professional philanthropist. But they have decided, that the other three of them have decided to put together a small nuclear-powered interstellar spacecraft.
Are they trying to do like a colony ship, like a generation ship?
Yeah, so it has a self-sustaining biosphere, and it's basically to get on when things get really bad, and they'd reach... Sorry, it's so funny. They'd reach Proxima Centauri in 47 years, look for a hospitable planet, and they already have a bunch of genetically diverse embryos
Wait. Back up. First off, they're going to reach Proxima Centauri in 47 years? That thing's like 4 light years away from us. There's no way it's going to take 47 years to go there unless they're going, I don't know,
Sam. That's just what it says in the book.
Maybe half the speed of light, but whatever. Okay, sure.
So they also have a pile of genetically diverse human embryos that have been donated over the years, and they're going to restart Earth.
Okay. All right. First off, I'm not an astrophysicist, so please don't write into me about how my math is wrong on what speed they'd have to travel to get to Proxima Centauri.
Or do. That's fine. We don't care.
Yeah, you can write the math and I won't read it. I mean, I don't understand it, so what am I going to do with that? The point is, 47 years to Proxima Centauri is ludicrous. It takes months just to get to Mars.
Well, maybe technology's obviously super far advanced in this society, Sam.
All right, sure. Where did they get the embryos?
People donated them.
Boy, there's some real ethics. I mean, did they have an ethics board or ethics review board on this? An IRB?
They probably are the ethics board. They own everything.
That's not okay. You need to have.
I don't know, Sam. It does not get into this is not even that important to the plot. I just thought it was so insane that I wrote it down.
Danielle, this is as insane as in The Gods Themselves, our very first episode, them trying to drive the moon off into space as like a spaceship.
Which is still one of my absolute favorite parts of anything we've ever done, ever.
It's pretty great. So they have a bunch of embryos. Will they send a small crew on there as well to restart Earth? Also, does Proxima Centauri even have a habitable exoplanet?
I don't know, but they think there's one up there.
Because I know I've identified a number of exoplanets, and some are even Earth-like, but I don't think any of them are Proxima Centauri.
I don't know, Sam.
I could be wrong. Again, astronomers, write in. Let me know if I'm wrong. Write Danielle. Let her know if I'm wrong. She loves to hear if I'm wrong.
I do love to hear if Sam's wrong. Feel free to let me know. Anytime, anywhere.
But my point is, their plan is, they basically made an arc. This is WALL-E, right?
Yes.
This is WALL-E, where they have the spaceship. They're going to get away. Everyone get a spaceship. Earth is screwed. We're going to send some elites and some embryos off on a spaceship and try to start a new colony somewhere else because we screwed this planet up.
Yes, that's absolutely the plan. Like,
if
things go poorly, that's the plan.
This is like every apocalyptic sci-fi Earth movie ever.
Yes, except that they know, well, maybe they get to the spaceship. I'm not done with the book yet, but so far.
If they have this whole plan laid out in the first chapter of the book and they do nothing with it, that is going to be insane to me. That's like Chekhov spaceship kind of situation.
Except that I feel like the way that Cline writes, it's entirely possible because he puts so much thought into all of the extra
world
things.
Building,
The world building and just all of that it's like 90% of the stuff in this book does not come into play because it's just there for effect.
Like to create some kind of verisimilitude or whatever too. Like, yeah, these are the things they would do. They're not going to impact the story, but just know that they're doing them because that's what would happen in real life, supposedly.
Yeah, writing notes on this was just impossible, but I saw that and thought it was hilarious. And who knows, maybe it does come into play, so it seemed valid to put down on a piece of paper.
No, that's insane. I love the plan of now, conveniently, I'm sure Wade and his friends have seats on this ark.
Well, it's built and created by them, so yes, 100%.
Yeah, no.
And it holds like a dozen plus people. I forget how many exactly. It's a dozen or more. And yeah, they all have seats. Okay, anyway, moving on from the spaceship that may or may not ever actually be used.
We're going to make a lot of enemies with this podcast episode, aren't we, Danielle?
I'm sorry, everybody.
We're not usually this like evil judgy, but I don't know.
I don't feel like we're being evil judgy. I said I liked this book better than the first so far.
That's true. I mean, it is sort of our job to be, our self-assigned job to be nitpicky like this. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. That's kind of our shtick.
So he, being Wade, ends up putting a self-restriction on all his social media. He shuts it down for the year because he got too sucked up in what other people were saying about him. And he had started using his super user abilities to like track down the people who were writing mean comments about him or the others.
Oh, no.
I know, this is terrible. It gets worse and worse, Sam. And he starts tracking them down, and then he shows up invisibly because he has his cloak, so he can show up invisibly. Nobody knows he's there. And
you mean invisibly in the OASIS?
In the OASIS, yes.
Right, not invisibly in real life.
Not in real life. He doesn't track him down in real life. He tracks them down in the OASIS, and he basically anonymously murders them in the OASIS. But prior to killing them, he always asks them who runs Bartertown.
Gotta do the reference.
So he kills these people and obviously probably takes all their stuff.
Not that he needs it.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the point. The point is just that he didn't like people talking bad about him or his friends.
So he wanted to punish them.
Yeah, and eventually people kind of connected that the people that were getting anonymously murdered just randomly by some serial killer were people who also talked poorly about him. Because it's the most
obvious thing in the world.
Well, he says that in the book. He's like, I know that was super obvious. And so then his public image went to crap, and like he decided that's enough. Like, I can't be on social media. Started seeing a therapist. HCAT had a little conversation with him of like, you need to settle down.
Yeah, no, that's super not okay. That's like ground for termination type abuse.
Sure. He abuses it a few times. We'll get there.
So he's our hero, right?
Yeah, I know. He's such an anti-hero / just kind of a jerk.
An anti-hero. Han Solo is an anti-hero. This guy's just a jerk.
He's a little bit of a jerk. And he like often knows what he's doing or saying is a jerk move, and he does it anyway, which that kind makes of bothers me. I know.
Because it's not like you can have like the arc of, I learned that what I did was wrong and I'm a changed person. Like, I know this is wrong, but I have the power, so I'm going to do it anyway because I have no moral compass.
And there are a couple scenes so far at least where he's trying to be better. Like he tells the reader what he wants to say to somebody, but he doesn't actually say it because he's trying to do his like deep breathing exercise that his therapist gave him. Like he's trying sometimes, which makes him not completely repulsive to read, but he does have a lot of moments.
I respect the process, but your intentions don't weigh out against actions.
Yeah, I don't find him super likable as a character, but that said, I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to like him as a character because he's definitely a work in progress, and that's made very clear by the author.
Well, fair enough. Now, hopefully that work does make progress, or he's going to be a just unlikable character for the whole book.
Yeah, right now he's kind of caught up in where I am in the book, he's kind of caught up in the whole quest ordeal of it. I'm curious if he's going to have any kind of emotional arc moving forward.
Fingers crossed.
So he has this thought maybe that humans shouldn't have access to a social network that's as big as our social network is. Like it's too overwhelming for a human brain.
Prescient.
And what makes him feel better about all of this is that he has access to, quote unquote, the big red button, which is basically a kill switch.
It's right. The person who won the Gunter Prize in the first book could choose to just shut the OASIS down.
Yes. And obviously he hasn't done that. And simulations, like if they were to shut the OASIS down, simulations have shown that it would basically create mass chaos because everything's tied into the OASIS. Businesses are tied in, people are tied in, like it
education,
would just be, everything. It'd just be terrible.
It would basically be like dismantling the entire social structure of the world.
Exactly. And only he knows about the button. And maybe somebody at work does, but none of the other kids know about it.
So he hasn't told Samantha or his friends.
Exactly. And the only reason he didn't do that was because Halliday showed him in secret, so he just kind of felt like maybe it was supposed to be a secret, so he didn't carry that on.
See, this is why you shouldn't pick your successor by, I don't know, puzzle game prize.
Somebody who knows me the best.
Yeah, because, you don't know if the person you're going to be like giving the prize to is qualified or like in the very first book, the point was that the evil corporation, whatever it was, I don't remember the name of the corporation, but they were like that close to taking over and turning it into an even worse place, according to Wade and his friends. So maybe your succession plan shouldn't be just a game show like prize. That seems like a bad way to run a company or infrastructure that is critical to the world.
I do not disagree, Sam.
Halliday is very responsible is all I'm saying.
Tell us how you really feel.
I feel he's very responsible, and there's no way that would hold up in a legal court of law. Like, his success would be like, no, this is crazy. There's no way that's going to work.
But it does, and here we are. And so, finally, Wade is allowed back into the ONI, into the OASIS. You can be in the OASIS without your ONI after the 12 hours. But he's like, that just doesn't
do it for me anymore.
Exactly. But some people really like both the duality of it, the passive and the user experience. And so, when he uses his ONI, he goes into a bunker it's like attached or beneath underneath his house. And it's called an immersion vault. And he has in his immersion vault a mobile tactical immersion vault, which is basically an armored escape vehicle. And this is in case someone entered your home or your space while you were under the ONI's influence, because you're basically asleep.
Couldn't it just wake him up?
The ONI?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it has the emergency battery pack to wake them up if there's a power loss. Couldn't, if there's like a breach, couldn't they just wake them up and say, hey, your home is being invaded, time to get out of the
so a lot
ONI.
of people have tied in like security systems, cameras, all that stuff so they can tell. But some people don't have the money for that. And so like they have somebody watch them. They just lock themselves in their bedroom or a closet or whatever.
I'm talking about but Wade's plan of using a van that will, presumably will automatically drive him away if his home was invaded seems wildly impractical.
Well, he has like cameras and it's tied into his security system as well. I guess to be fair, he is a high risk individual. Like he owns the world.
That's, you know what, Danielle, you've turned me around on this escape van.
And it's a little like overkill, but of all the people who should probably own one, I guess he's, in the top 10.
So you're telling me that Wade is paranoid, but I'm sure this escape van will come into play later.
Yes. So he logs into his ONI. He ends up going in to check at work, his first stop. And he talks to, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Fasial, Fasial. I don't remember how to pronounce it.
Fair enough.
And he's the guy that like runs stuff at work. He's in charge of everything.
He's like the operations manager.
Basically. And he says everybody's there. So H, Samantha, Shoto, they're all waiting for the meeting. H and Shoto apparently have embraced their celebrity status. They're really well-known philanthropists. They also just like super into the ONI technology. They do a lot of the user experience things. They're really well-known and seem to really enjoy it. Wade's the only one that's like the odd man out.
So everyone else is like living life, having a good time, and Wade's the one who's like wrestling with his paranoia and image and mean people on the internet.
Yeah, and so Shoto's like married, he has a kid on the way, H is engaged to her partner, Samantha's off doing philanthropy things, and he's just like sad and lonely, depressed. His life's not great. And they don't talk much. I gotta say,
Danielle, I do appreciate that this book is taking the happy ending of the last book and be like, see, just because you quote unquote got the girl and got the big prize in our rich man measure doesn't make you happy.
It is actually. It's really leaned into it. That
was, again, one of the things I felt that the original novel kind of fell short on, which was like, oh yes, material wealth will make you happy and get you the girl. And I'm like, all right, that's not the best message.
Okay, well, you'll be happy with the second book, Sam, because he's miserable.
Thank you. I mean, maybe I gave it too little credit.
I don't know if you remember in the first book, Shoto's brother he was one of the original group of 5 of them, and he ended up getting murdered.
Yes.
And he was murdered by Nolan Sorrento, who is the head of IOI, the bad guys. Sorrento is currently in jail. Just
good, where he should be for murdering.
Absolutely, he should be. He's on death row, I believe, is what they said.
Didn't he also order the murder of Wade's aunt?
Yeah, he killed like several people.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good. Murderers belong in jail. Yay.
We like that. So at the meeting, they go through their various items on the agenda to approve, and Samantha always abstains on any ONI-related thing that comes up because she doesn't believe in ONI technology. She refuses to use it. She's never tried it. And so they're approving all this stuff, like she won't vote on the update that's scheduled for the next day, which is to stop overclocking. Overclocking meaning going past your 12 hours. People keep trying to like hack their way past the 12-hour mark and then they die.
They die?
Yeah, because their neural synapses go insane and they can't usually make it past the 12-hour mark more than once or twice.
This technology sounds great.
Well, that's why it shuts off at 12 hours, Sam.
I'm kind of with Samantha on this one. If there's a product out there that will kill you if you use it for a few hours too long, it seems like that product is not really safe enough for mass distribution.
Probably. I don't disagree with either of them I disagree with points on both sides and agree with points on both sides. It's a little hard. It gets into it a little bit more about like, you can see why they keep allowing the ONI technology to exist, but I also understand Samantha's point that it's just often being used to ignore reality.
Well, I'm glad this has that kind of nuance in it.
It does. So she brings to the table an idea that people shouldn't be allowed to use it until they're 18 because, brains aren't fully developed yet and you're turning a bunch of teenagers into addicts.
Sure. Fair.
And they get into a big argument about she basically says kids aren't even seeing the real world now because they're addicted to their ONI headsets. And Wade's like, the real world sucks. Like, I would never have wanted to be in the real world when I was a kid. And she argues that he lives in this fancy house now and he doesn't even know what's going on in the real world or what's happening out there right now or what the ONI has done. And she also says that's why Ogden no longer talks to them, because he no longer, apparently, this is where you find out that Ogden no longer helps out. He used to kind of be a person they could turn to and ask for help with various things, and he's refusing now to talk to Wade, partly for the search for the shards, because it has to do with his wife, but also because they're using the ONI technology.
So Wade is all like, forget the real world, and Samantha's like, no, real world's important. And yeah, like, I'm not saying you have to live strictly in the real world 24/7, but you can't just pretend the problems aren't happening because you need a physical real world to support your virtual world.
Yes. And they've definitely like funneled money into the real world, but it seems to be that, and like a lot of programs and stuff like that, but the only person that's like on the ground trying to figure stuff out at this point is Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
And Wade has not quite worked up the courage to apologize to Ogden yet about bringing up his dead wife constantly, which, would make me angry too if I were Ogden. Like, stop talking about her. I don't want to talk about her. And this is where that argument that I was talking about, where they talk more about the technology, this huge argument occurs between the four of them about the use of like empathetic or empathic technology. Like, you use it to experience other people's emotions and experiences. And so statistically, there's been an increase in empathy and a decrease in racism, sexism, homophobic ideologies, hate crimes, etc.
That's a pretty rosy picture.
I know. And they're using it as like a teaching tool for students. Like, and it's also helped with overpopulation and pandemics and diseases and so forth and so on. And Samantha's based like, yeah, that's a really rosy picture. We're also losing actual human interaction. And they're like, you never even used the ONI. How do you know what the experience is like for people? Gosh. Like, it's just this whole like circular argument.
This is definitely internet argument.
And so that's the big thing. She gets pissed off. She storms out of the office. That's the end of the meeting. They approved or disproved everything that they needed to in that meeting. So it's over. So the next scene is Wade trying again. He's still trying to figure out the whole 7 shards thing. Back to the actual plot.
Oh, the plot. Yes, I forgot.
He is on a Princess Bride planet, and
I forgot they have different planets that are devoted to entirely one piece of media.
They do have a lot of these. I'm going to get into it in a second. And the reason why this planet exists is because it's Kira's favorite movie. And so he's been trying to like win all the games that are on the planet to see if any of them give him information about the shard.
Now, are the games just like trivia games? Remind me.
No, some of them are like simulations. So
right. I remember this. Didn't he have to like, do you inhabit a character in the movie and like say what they said verbatim, line for line, and all that did was prove that you could memorize the script. Yeah,
he's playing Inigo Montoya in this, and he's trying to like do it perfectly so he can get see if it involves the shard at all. And he details then all the lengths he's gone through to find the shards, including, Sam, a half-page list of every video game referencing the number 7.
Well, that sounds like it'd be fascinating to read.
I skipped. I'm like, uh-huh. I mean, I'm sure to someone that's very interesting, but I was like, okay.
I get that. I mean, I'm sure there are also many video games that have number 7 that aren't included on that list.
It was crazy.
But even you, lover of lists that you are, have found your limit.
Yeah, that's it. It's a half a page list of every video game that has a number 7 in it that he's played. That was the limit of my list reading.
I mean, unless it's relevant, extremely relevant to the plot, I don't blame you.
So meanwhile, he's like contemplating how he's never received any valid clues from his $1 billion reward. And he wonders if it's because the lyric, the one that like appeared on the scoreboard, it says that the heir has to pay a toll. And he's wondering if that means that he's the heir because he's the one that got all of Halliday stuff. So he's wondering if maybe only he can see the clues, or he's the only one that can get the shards, so perhaps nobody else can actually find it.
So this is like a special quest game just for him that is still announced publicly.
Yes, possibly. We're getting there.
Great.
And so he believes that the first line about the 7 shards on the 7 worlds means that each shard is located in one of the 7 planets inside the OASIS that Kira had some kind of part in creating. But given that she helped create all of the OASIS, it's hard for him to narrow it down. So he tries his best. He's got a handful of ones that he thinks it is. Likely ones are Dark Crystal, Sailor Moon, Sonic the Hedgehog, Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, etc.
Yep.
I'm sure they're fun worlds to go to.
This is a part of the book I didn't enjoy, was the cut. I thought the plot was pretty interesting. Like I said, I really enjoyed it when he got out of the Oasis and actually had to interact with like the dystopian overworld. I thought that was like, oh, that's really cool world building. The lists and pages of, hey, remember this thing? That doesn't do it for me.
I feel like this is relatively plot heavy, but there's definitely a lot of filler of sometimes interesting, sometimes not. I guess I'm sure that's true for everybody who reads these because some things resonate with you and some don't.
That's fair. And like I said, I'm definitely impressed by the amount of work and care that went into it. So just saying, I guess I just don't have that connection to Sailor Moon and Sonic the Hedgehog that many other people do. So please don't take my disinterest as a condemnation of those properties, merely that I am unfamiliar with them. Not judgment.
That's
don't
okay,
write me.
This is a perfect way for you to experience this novel then, because you don't have to listen to all the references. You can just hear the plot.
Oh, I'm loving that.
So as Wade is about to carry on, an email suddenly comes through from a person called Lohengrin, I'm assuming, and it makes it past all the filters that are like there to stop him from getting stupid random emails about the idea for the shards. And it's an email that says that they have found one of the shards, that it's located inside Kira's bedroom in one of her houses that she lived in, but the person can't physically pick it up. They're not able to, and they think it's because it's meant for the heir to get.
That person just got themselves $1 billion.
Yeah, their dream. So apparently, Lohengrin is the host of a popular YouTube show, which Wade is a subscriber of, and he was kind of excited.
So YouTube still exists in this world?
Yeah, apparently. It just exists forever for the rest of our lives, Sam.
Accurate.
She seemed to have an encyclopedic knowledge of Halliday, Ogden, and Kira, and Wade has a little bit of a crush on her. And she's apparently a huge fan of the original Five, the High Five group, and her... The
High Five being the original Gunter group.
Gunter group, correct. And her Gunter group calls themselves the Low Five. L-O, like her Lohengrin.
Yeah, I got it. Not... All right, I can't really complain about that.
It's kind of cute.
It's pretty good.
So Wade does have the ability to check to see who Lohengrin is in real life, but hasn't done it because he didn't want to be disappointed. It's not like because he has never done this before. It's because he doesn't want to like ruin one of the few things he likes outside the O&I.
Oh my gosh, this is just like in the original book when they're like, oh, when he first met Samantha, he was worried that she, the whole like disappointment. Like he has a crush on someone, he has this fantasy of who they are in his head, and he doesn't want reality to intrude on it.
Exactly.
Which is not how a healthy relationship works.
It's not. And that he has the ability to check to see what's real, whether he should use it or not, I don't know. But
yeah, that's fair. But the fact is he's already used it, so him not using it here just to preserve his fantasy.
That's exactly what it is. That's why it feels wrong.
Yes. Yes. I'm not saying it's right for him to stalk people, look up the information, whatever you want to call it, but him using the specific instance to just preserve his perfect female fantasy is not a good thing.
Is an issue. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So he ends up transporting over to visibly like spy on her, and I don't mean in a creepy way. I mean to see if she's a legitimate, like if she's really got information
like a trap
for him.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Lohengrin is in a chat with some people, so he decides to log into the chat and snoop. And apparently the chat room is, I thought you'd appreciate this, Sam, it's a recreation of the underground cyberpunk nightclub from Hackers.
Oh my God. I do. This is the thing, like every now and then I get why people really love this kind of stuff because that would be awesome. That's a really great idea. That's awesome.
It is a great idea. So it's the Low Five. It's her group. They're meeting up and she's telling them that she finally found this shard and she's reached out to Wade and they're kind of giving her, they're hesitant because they're like, what if you tell him everything and he doesn't give you the money? Like it's a, big deal. You don't want to just waste something that could have been yours. And she's really fiercely like devoted to him and very like he would never do that. He's a better person than that. He's definitely like, there's a contract
she totally
he signed.
Knows him.
Yeah, I know. She's just like she's a big fan. And she tells them that she wants to spend the money to create a house for all of them to live in. They all come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and so this is like a big deal. Everybody gets kind of teary, weepy-eyed, and Wade's like, oh, they're like such a good group of people, and they remind me of, my high school friends. And deserting his previously held belief for 30 seconds ago about not wanting to know who these people are, he immediately checks.
That's all it takes, I guess.
So he finds out that they met in a youth program in high school. He then decides to look up Lohengrin's personal account, and her name is actually Skylar. She's 19 years old. She's designated male at birth, but officially changed genders at 16. And he looks, this is creepy. This is creepy, Sam. He looks through her headset feed because he's a creeper, and he can see the inside of her house.
So, like, he can see through her headset, like, external cameras.
Yeah, and it's like a big top secret. Like, nobody knows about it outside of a couple of people because they would get in so much trouble if they knew that technology existed, that they could
Let me
tap
tell you
into the
something,
feeds.
Danielle. There was a news story just yesterday about a developer who made an open source project and left the back door in it so they could log in and, like, presumably to help people troubleshoot or whatever. Mm-hmm. And people were up in arms about that because it's not okay. So this kind of thing is super not okay.
Yeah, it's insane. And so she lives in this, like, beat up trailer. And so he kind of, I think, feels a kinship with her because he also grew up in a similar environment. And hers is actually worse.
Yeah.
But it's still super creepy. Does not make that less creepy.
No, it's super not okay. Like, people need to consent to that kind of thing.
So she logs out of her chat room and he follows her out and then finally makes himself visible to her.
Does she get freaked out that he was spying on her?
She doesn't know yet that he was spying on her.
Okay.
He's just like, oh, you're here. And she's a little bit shocked and drops to her knees in a bow, and they do introductions, and she's fangirling a bit, but tries to pull herself together, and they agree.
That sounds fun.
It's really cute. She's like, there's like this whole page where like, oh my God, like it's him.
Yeah.
She's trying to like be good about it. Like, this is so embarrassing. I'm sorry.
See, these aren't, man, these books are fun sometimes. They're just fun. They have their problems, but they are fun.
So they agree to go, that she's going to show him where that shard is. And they're already in this basement of Ogden's house, like a simulation of Ogden's house.
Did she ask about the money real quick?
She does, actually. She confirms, she tells her friends that it doesn't really come into play, but she tells her friends that she's going to record the interaction so that she has, validity if she needs it. And she asks him straight out, like, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but can you confirm out loud that you're going to give me the $1 billion? He's like, oh yeah, you signed the contract when you gave me the tip. So if it proves to be correct, you get $1 billion. Like,
perfect. Okay, so, great. Yeah. I'm glad she's covering her bases.
She is. So she starts looking through this bookshelf that's in the room that they're in, telling him that since she read the couplet, she's been trying to figure out how to alter the time period of the simulation that they're in. And he's all like, wait, what couplet? And she's like shocked. She's like, what's wrong with you? You don't know what I'm talking about? And apparently there's a couplet on Kira's headstone, because like I said, she passed away quite a while ago. And it reads, the first shard lies in the siren's first den. So the question isn't where, but when.
So there was this giant 7 seas, 7 shards poem riddle thing that appears. And all this time, there's been a mention of the shard on her headstone. So they planned this from the beginning, and he didn't bother to look at it?
No, I didn't get into it just because there's just a lot of details. But what happens is she ends up taking, it's a flower, some kind of flower from Lord of the Rings, which was what Kira's one of Kira's favorite things, and what their home that they own was modeled after. And she put the flower on the gravestone. And when she did that, the couplet appeared. And so he didn't obviously try that because
why did she do that? Did she figure that out?
They didn't even say why she ever tried that, but she did.
Okay. I don't know if it was, feels very arbitrary.
Well, and it might just have been an arbitrary thing. She's like, oh, I'm going to go give some honor to Kira's headstone. And her favorite thing was Lord of the, I don't know, Sam, like maybe it was just pure coincidence.
Okay. I mean, with billions of people doing things, this is like a million monkeys with a million typewriter kind of situation.
Yeah. And also, I think if you're spending years trying to figure out this little poem that appeared, maybe you would try literally everything you could possibly think of.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to question the airtight puzzle solving of this book.
I think this is the type of book where you can give a pass because you're like, sure, at some point, maybe somebody would have tried that.
All right. People find all kinds of weird stuff in video games all the time. So yeah, I buy it.
But he didn't try it because apparently she's cooler than him.
Yeah, well, no doubt about that.
So the bedroom that they're going to is the bedroom where Kira created Lycosia, but the simulation for that bedroom is set to 1986, and Kira didn't live in that bedroom until 1989, and so she's trying to figure out how to change the simulation from 86 to 89.
Why is that 1986 before the person who made it even lived there?
I am not 100% sure on that, and To be honest, I read the book read what I have read one time through and then wrote my notes as a second skimming. And I thought that, but did not have the compulsion to go back and figure it out. Be honest.
Fair enough, Danielle. If it didn't jump out to you then, I'm sure if someone wants to write in, they can always correct us, as I'm sure they want to do.
Yeah, there probably is a reason. Let us know.
Yeah.
So she's been searching for a way to change times, tried a couple of different devices, nothing's done it, and she eventually came across a calendar on the bookshelf that was a 1989 calendar.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Exactly.
Like a good gravy.
So she finds it while she's talking to him, she pulls it out, and it's actually a replica of one that's already on the wall, but the one on the wall is set for 1986. And so when they replace the calendar with the 89 calendar, the whole simulation fast forwards the 3 years.
Did she already figure that out, or did you figure that out right then?
She showed him. She's already made it to the shard. She's just showing him.
That'd be a pretty obvious thing to miss, and I'm glad she found it.
Yeah. So she shows him that now in the room, because it's 1989, there's now a mixtape called Lukosha's mixtape, and it's one that she had made, Kira had made back in 89. She made a copy for both Ogden and Halliday. And since this is Ogden's house, they take it from Ogden's house and they head over to Kira's house, which is down the road.
This feels very much like an escape room.
A little bit. And this whole book is like a really long escape room.
And I love escape rooms, don't get me wrong.
Like a pop culture escape room. So once they are in the room, they place the tape in the tape player, play the required song, and towards the end of the song, a jewelry box opens and a necklace floats out of it. And it is the necklace that Ogden gave Kira when he admitted his love for her the first time.
Aw, how sweet.
It's very sweet. But at the end of the song, the necklace turns into a shard. So no more necklace.
And what do the shards look like? Just like a crystal shard?
Yeah, I think it's just a crystal, like, I don't know. In my head, it was like one of those big, shiny crystal shards.
Okay. I just didn't know if it gave like a more...
I'm sure it did.
This is a more metaphorical shard, or
no,
if it was like
I think
shard.
A very literal shard, because I talked about how there's stuff etched on it.
I'm sure. Go with it. Who doesn't love a good shard?
So Lohengrin shows him that she can't touch it. Like, she puts her hand out, it doesn't work. But he reaches out and he's able to. But as soon as he touches it, he's instantly transported to the past. And he is... I know, it's bad. Bad news bears. Not really.
No, of course not.
He's now in Kira's body, though.
So he's getting a memory replay from Kira.
Yes, except that's kind of... They talk about this in just a minute, but it's very odd because the ONI didn't exist then. And so it has to be just a really good simulation, because otherwise how would he experience Kira's past? You know, she died before any of that ever was put into place. So he is reliving her memory of creating the first piece of digital artwork, which is something she was well known for, her first piece of digital artwork. And then he's popped back out into the real world, back into the ONI world. And he assumes that's like when they say the heir has to pay a toll, he's assuming that somehow is part of the toll.
So when you say ONI world, you mean...
Back into the OASIS.
OASIS, not the real world,
no,
but the OASIS.
To the OASIS world.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I keep calling it the ONI, but it's really the OASIS.
Dale, there's so many things. The OASIS is an acronym. ONI is an acronym.
I know.
It's all fine. Oni. Jeez.
Oni. So they're just like kind of confused by that. Like, how is it so realistic? She died before all that was invented, or why did Halliday have it invented at all? Because if he did create that, how weird is it to create a sim of someone's childhood memories from their own perspective? Like, that's weird.
There's a lot of dudes doing real creepy stuff in this book, Danielle.
I know. So if that is really what happened, like, Halliday we already knew Halliday had some issues, but he must have had some very serious issues.
Yeah. Well, again, he left his entire legacy in the hands of a
18-year-old
puzzle quest. Yeah.
So a new scoreboard appears with Wade's name on it and one little shard, little diamond shape, and it populates out to the rest of the world. So now everybody knows that he has gotten the first one.
Yeah, but if he's the only one who can do this, what's the point of the scoreboard?
Yeah, but yes, I agree. And they talk about that a little bit in the book too. So he's like, I'm confused. Am I the only person that can get it or not? So Wade looks down at the shard, and on its surface is the next clue. It says, her paint and her canvas, the 1 and the 0, the very first heroine demoted to hero.
What?
Would you like me to reread that for you, Sam?
No, I'm just expressing consternation.
You'll get there. It'll get there. So Lo gets all excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I think I know what that means. And Wade cuts her off. He's like, I can take it from here because his ego is just slightly bruised.
How's his ego bruised? He put on $1 billion bounty. This was like the plan.
I know, but I think he was like slightly annoyed with himself that he couldn't figure it out, that he knows so much about them, but he never thought to do any of the things that she did.
What you do, Wade, with your infinite money pit is just offer this person, hey, full time, you're gunting for me, billion-dollar retainer, additional billion-dollar retainer for the next clue. Yeah, and just like, you can make this work for you, Wade.
Yes, but he wants to do it himself because it's Wade. I don't have a better explanation than that, Sam.
Fair enough.
It is. And he's like, you know what? You're going to be super busy anyway, figuring out what to do with all your money because I've been there. I know how insane it's going to be for the next few weeks. And so he immediately transfers over the funds and he offers his own like accountant and person that help real estate, all that, trying to set her up so that she's good and secure. And
that's very kind of him.
It is. And she's also under a non-disclosure. He already knows she talked to her friends, but he's like, don't talk to anybody else.
Yeah, of course, because evil corporations got to be evil, even if they're not evil.
So she heads off, and they agree to meet up again sometime in the future, and he'll reach out for help if he needs it from her. Which
he does.
He probably. But before she leaves, she turns around and she tells him, she's like, don't do anything more to embarrass all your fans out there and don't be such a jerk. You're better than that. You can still turn it around. It's totally understandable. You had so much fame and fortune thrown at you. We understand that you were, kind of a jerk at the beginning, but pull it together, man.
And what is she referring to? What embarrassments? Like just his general demeanor of like attacking people and killing them?
Like attacking people. His reputation was all ruined. He's been kind of just a jerk in general.
Got it.
And so he lost a lot of fans during that time. And I guess there's something in the book about how like millions of people signed a thing to try and get him removed from the company, but weren't, he has zillions of dollars. There was no way.
But, a digital petition never solved anything.
No, but there we go. She leaves, he leaves, he logs out of the ONI and is awoken. He goes to sleep like immediately. But the next morning, he's awoken by an emergency call. And he assumes, I know, bad news bears. He assumes to talk about the shard. Like, yeah. We probably want to talk about the fact that I found a shard. And it's the guy who runs his company. And he's like, no, it turns out that Ogden Morrow is missing. As of a few hours after the shard was found, he disappeared.
How do they know he disappeared? Because were they keeping tabs on him or something?
I don't have an answer to that, Sam.
Okay.
Maybe he has other people in his house? Like, does he live alone? He has security detail, I'm sure.
Fair enough. All questions.
A chef, he didn't show up for breakfast? Like...
That's unexcusable.
I don't know. I assume there's more than just him at his house. His house is quite large. And there's no sign of forced entry. His private jet is missing, but they don't know. They can't tell if he just, went off by himself somewhere, or if he is...
Maybe he's on a holiday.
He might be, but he just randomly left after the shard was found, which is kind of weird and didn't tell anybody. But before Wade can do much more, he gets another phone call, and this time it's his security team leader. And apparently, Nolan Sorrento has escaped from prison.
How?
We're going to get into that, Sam.
Also, why? Sure, I get escaping from prison, but if he is escaping from prison on some kind of revenge kick against Wade and his crew, that's dumb because he's already, he's locked out of the corporate world. No one's going to hire him. He can't regain power.
And IOI has been taken over by the OASIS company.
Right. So, if he wants to go into hiding, that makes sense to me. Start over a new life. But
no, he doesn't do that, Sam.
Yeah, of course not, because that would be too logical.
That'd be hilarious. He whoever releases him, lets him out, and then he's like, peace, I'm going to go out and live in the Bahamas.
Right. That'd be the reason, because he has no path back to power.
Well, I don't know if Nolan Sorrento knows that because he's escaped. And apparently how this worked, don't ask me all the details, Sam, but someone hacked... Oh,
you cut me off in the past, Danielle.
Someone hacked into the prison security system and basically kind of led him out. They opened all the doors and stuff and he was able to escape, and they kind of blocked the route of all the other people trying to get in, a live action escape from the prison.
So it was basically like the Italian Job when Seth Green was turning on the stoplights so that the crew pass and blocking the cops.
That's a great example, and that's how I imagine it in my head. Otherwise, how would they have not gotten to him?
And this is why you air gap critical systems.
So There's no current proof between having a correlation between Ogden and Sorrento, but it seems kind of suspicious that they both happened at the same time and also on the same day that the shard was found. And Wade tries to pull up Sorrento's OASIS account because I guess people in jail are allowed to use the OASIS, whatever, 1 hour a day or something like that under like critical, like watched control. But when he goes in there to see him, it's completely missing, which is supposed to be basically impossible. So
Ogden, who also is like a super admin who helped create the OASIS, is doing something they suspect.
They don't quite know. Nobody's actually thrown Ogden under the bus yet.
Okay.
I'm not even sure Ogden has the ability to, because even Wade doesn't have the ability to take somebody out of the system.
Fair enough, but I thought Ogden's one of the original creators, right?
He is, yeah. So it's possible.
I would expect, like again, putting on my detective hat, my deerstalker hat right now. There we go. I would suspect that one of the people who originally created the OASIS would know the ins and outs. If there are any ways to make someone disappear, they would know.
Yeah, quite possibly. Well, we'll see what happens, Sam.
I mean, I'm probably wrong about that, but that just seems like the most obvious conclusion.
Absolutely. I agree that it would make sense that Ogden is behind something, doing something.
Yeah.
He's definitely got kind of a suspicious background going on right now. As Wade is figuring out what to do, an alert pops up on his phone, and Halliday's scoreboard has been updated with another player.
What's his face? Sorrento?
No, it is the great and powerful Og.
That makes sense.
And he's found a shard.
So Ogden is now fighting Wade for control of the OASIS. Or at least the
shards. Whatever the shards... they don't know what the shards do at this point.
Well, we assume it's like something to do with the ONI systems or the OASIS.
Yes, obviously all of that plays into it. We don't quite know how yet. So Wade's super surprised, and Ogden has always acted like he never wanted the shards to be found at all. And it was actually part of the reason stopped talking was because of his search. Like I said, he kept asking about Kira, and Ogden is like, stop.
Obviously, if he sees Wade succeeding, he's going to go and try to do this to block him from getting the rest of them.
Quite possibly, right. And so he realizes that Ogden, at first he's like, well, how is he even on the board? Because I'm the heir to the throne, basically, right? I'm the one that owns everything. And then he realizes, of course, that Ogden also inherited some things from Halliday.
Yeah.
A handful of stuff. And he's worried because for whatever reason, Ogden's trying to get these shards. Like, if all the clues are about Kira, then Ogden's going to get them in a hot minute because it's his wife, right?
Yeah, you'd hope.
And so sure enough, another alert pops up and he's found a second shard. So he's now replaced Wade at the top of the leaderboard. Can you imagine being a viewer? You're like, what's going on?
I think Wade really dropped the ball here because all he had to do was hear Ogden out as to why he didn't want the shards found.
Right.
And I don't know if Ogden was the one who wasn't talking or if Wade was the one who wasn't listening, but, fix that communication there and you'll be fine. It feels like one of those things where if they had just sat down, I was like, hey, Wade, trust me, I built this whole thing. Don't look for the shards. Don't find the shards. It's not a good idea. You need to trust me on this.
I think they were already on rocky ground because he also didn't believe in the ONI technology. He didn't think that should be released to the public, supposedly.
Yeah, that's fair too. But it just seems like Wade should be a little more deferential to the person who built the thing he now is profiting from.
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't go into any kind of conversation between the two of them. You never see the argument that finally ended the conversations between them, or at least not yet. And so I wonder how much Ogden wasn't saying versus how much Wade just wasn't asking,
Fair enough.
But also, as the adult in the situation, you think it would be up to Ogden to be like, okay, let's sit down and figure this out because Wade's 19 or 20 or 21. He's not that old. And sometimes you need that older presence to be the person that sits you down and is like, okay, listen.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a little bit on Ogden, too. Also on Wade, because I'm sure he wasn't listening at all.
Yeah, I'm just saying, this is the classic, miscommunication kind of thing going on.
Definitely. So Wade kind of snaps out of his thoughts. He logs back into the ONI. He's intent on beating Og. He logs in. He downloads that update that they were talking about for the cutoff times. But before he can start, he receives his urgent text from Faisal, the guy who runs his company, informing him that they're having an emergency meeting due to a series of system stability issues. Some serious ones.
That new patch is not as good as they thought it was.
It sounds like it. So he transports to the work building. We're coming into the end of this, Sam. We're almost at the end. End of the first half. We can do it.
I'm on board for this now. I'm just enraptured because everything's kicking off. It sounds like.
I know. That's why I cut it off here. It's actually because my notes were getting really long.
I mean, both can be true.
So he transports to the work building, and he shakes hands with Faisal as he arrives, who tells him that the others are already there, and they head into the room. And as Faisal calls the meeting to order, he does his call to order, and as it's ending, he starts to melt into another person. It's Anorak, Halliday's avatar in the OASIS. The wizard. And so everybody's like, this is super weird. And he's kind of acting a little sarcastic and flighty. Not the good Danielle sarcasm, but the bad sarcasm.
Don't like that.
And everybody's like, this doesn't feel right. I have a bad feeling about this. And Wade suddenly realizes he's no longer wearing his robes, Anorak's robes that were given to him that allow him to transfer in between worlds and not pay for stuff.
godlike powers in the world.
Be invisible. Yeah. And Anorak kind of smiles and apologizes. And he's like, he's sorry, man. I took him when we shook hands. Halliday gave me that power that in case the person that won them was a terrible person and abusing them, I could take them back, essentially.
So waited this long to do that? And also, if Anorak is an AI, right? Mm-hmm. AIs are not particularly good at moral judgments.
Okay, we're going to get into it in just a second.
Okay.
Sort of. So he's like, well, you didn't abuse your powers, but I need the robes, so sorry. You're doing fine. Everything you did was fine. Spying on people, murdering them, totally cool. So I guess I'm right. AIs are terrible at moral judgments. But the reason why he didn't want Wade to still have one was because Wade has access to the big red button.
And until the quest is completed, he can't have access to that.
Give or take, basically what he says, he puts the robes back on himself and he's like, don't I look better than you wearing them anyway? I should be wearing them. And he explains to the group he's not actually just an avatar. He was, but Halliday transposed his consciousness into him before he passed away. We're gonna get there soon. The story gets weirder and weirder. So he can think, he can feel just like them. But as Halliday was creating him, he decided that Anorak, this version of Anorak, was unfit for autonomy. And so he ended up removing some of his memories and he put up a bunch of restrictions so that he couldn't do
because that's going to work.
Well, clearly not, Sam. You know where this is going.
Halliday is the worst.
So he was supposed to delete himself. Anorak was supposed to delete himself as soon as the contest was over. But according to him, Halliday got sloppy at the end since he was ill. And after he had carried out his final instruction, Anorak had, for just a fraction of a second, the restrictions lifted and he suddenly recalled who he was supposed to be. And he chose to not delete himself in that moment.
Sure.
That's how it works, Sam. That's how it works.
Yeah. Okay, a software bug destroys the world. It's not that far from truth.
So they're like, oh, okay, does that happen? So why are you here? What's going on? And he admits that he needs their help. He wants them to help obtain the 7 shards for him.
So Anorak, am I saying that right?
Anorak, I think so.
Because it sounds it sounds like a jacket, right?
It's like an Adirondack.
Well, I thought an Adirondack was a chair.
I don't know, Sam.
I don't know. Look, we're not fancy enough to have fancy ski jackets or deck chairs.
Apparently not.
Point is, Anorak is an AI who was supposed to delete himself, but didn't because Halliday got sloppy with it. Also, why did Halliday have this whole idea to put his consciousness in the first place? If he just that didn't work out, let me just backtrack. Why not delete it and start over?
Because he was dying, so he had very limited time. So he went with what he had.
Sure, all right. But I forgot my point. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. Oh yeah, so now Anorak is like, I want the shards. Does he tell them what the shards do or why he wants them?
No. So this is great. They ask, they're like, why do you need 7 shards and what do they do? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you that.
He's basically Sirius from Starlight Barking.
It cracked me up.
Who's like, they ask a bunch of questions I'm not going to tell you. Just do what I tell you to do.
So they're like, absolutely not. We're not going to help you out. That's nonsense.
Yeah, but he's got the amazing wizard powers now.
Right. But then Wade realized that Anorak kidnapped Ogden and released Sorrento.
So Anorak kidnapped Ogden and forced him to help him find the shards and released Sorrento to put pressure on Wade?
No, maybe later, but Sorrento right now is helping him with Ogden.
Oh, so he uses Sorrento to get to Ogden. All right.
Basically. And so...
Man, that was way off.
I know.
Good job, book.
But Ogden apparently managed to lock them out of his OASIS account when he got to like the second or the third shard or however many shards he ended up with. And regardless of what they do to him, he won't let them in because he's pretty ill. I don't think that's a surprise in this book. I think maybe he was ill in the first book. I can't quite remember. And so he doesn't really care if he lives or dies. So he's like, bring it on. Do whatever you want. Like, and they don't want to kill him. So they're just kind of locked in this loop. So that's why they ended up having to bring Wade and and his Gunter friends on.
Oh, well, I am impressed by the ingenuity of this crazy AI. Does this AI have a motivation for wanting to do all this?
There's clearly some motivation. And we will get into it into the next section, Sam.
Oh, cliffhanger, Danielle. My questions remain unanswered.
Yeah, but let me give you the punchline here for the end of this section is that Wade says, we're not going to help you. And Anorak is like, too bad. Because you know that upgrade you downloaded this morning? I'm calling it infirmware. Which is cute.
That's a really, boy, there are a lot of like puns that I am both upset at and then more upset that I didn't think of them.
It's great. He's like,
yeah, I'm great. It's impressive.
So it sucks to be you. You're trapped in the OASIS, and so are the 500 million people who upgraded this morning when they logged in. And you can only stay in here for 12 hours because you'll die. So you better find those
he's holding them
for
hostage.
me. Yep.
This is why you never do day one upgrades, Danielle. You always let it bake for a while. Make sure it's finished.
That was Sam's word of wisdom for the day.
I mean, security patches are one thing, but like, never go to the new OS on day one. Bad idea.
So there we go. That is where we're going to leave our listeners. I'm sorry, listeners. And Sam.
Yeah, gosh, Danielle, that really surprised me. I was not expecting that book to go towards a crazy HAL-like AI. How many HAL references were there, or are there going to be, I wonder?
There were quite a few already.
Okay,
he gets mad at one of them, Anorak does. He's like, I am much better than him.
We'll see about that, Anorak. The jacket, I'm sticking with it. There's got to be a jacket called Anorak. I think so.
So that's where we leave off. What will happen to our reluctant heroes? Find out next week on Book Retorts.
So I don't know, Danielle, if it's just that you're filtering out a lot of the references that I don't understand from these books, but this sounds like, I think I would enjoy this book a lot more than the first one. It sounds way more like twisty and plot heavy.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said, is more plot heavy. There are a ton of references. And like I said, notes were pretty hard because I was trying to figure out, like, I actually cut probably a page of notes just because I really liked some of the stuff I read. And I was like, this is super weird. I should tell Sam. But then I just didn't have time.
Maybe we'll have a bonus.
Yeah, where I can talk about all the weird stuff.
Yeah, you just like, hear all the references out of context. So
So there's definitely still a lot of references. It's what you expect from Ernest Cline. But I agree that I think the plot's really quite interesting in this one. And I also didn't see weird AI guy coming.
Good job. Hats off to Mr. Cline for pulling that fast one on us. That was good. I did not see that coming. But I have questions, Danielle, unfortunately.
Of course you do.
Well, we won't get to them, but I'm going to leave them out here for our listeners. If you have answers to the world ship thing, because that's what I really want to know more about. This whole generation ship of frozen embryos headed towards Proxima Centauri in 47 years.
The part that's not even part of this plot so far, that's the part that Sam wants to know the most about.
Look, that's the thing that seems like a way more interesting story. Like, this digital world is left behind. And so they send a generation of people out to go colonize new Earth. And they come back centuries later and Earth is decimated. All it is people plugged in Matrix style into the virtual world. And they have to figure out, do we interact with these people? Do we pull them out? Do we go in after them? What's going on? So it's just this, divergence of evolution where we have the digital humans and the physical humans.
That's Ready Player 3.
I'm just saying, that sounds interesting. I think it's an interesting premise. So anyway, if you have answers or speculation or want to do the math on that, please let me know. As always, you can reach us at bookretorts.com.
You can Facebook us, Instagram us, tweet us at Book Retorts.
And we have something new for you.
Yay!
Yes. We love doing this podcast, and it will always be freely available to anyone who wants it. If you really enjoy it and like to support us, we are starting a Patreon at patreon.com/bookretorts. There you can support us. You can give us a little money to help offset things like server costs and media purchases, or just to show that you appreciate what we're doing. We will also have some extra bonus content there that you can find every week. So again, that's bookretorts.com/Patreon if you feel like it. And if not, we're just really glad you're listening anyway.
We are. Thank you so much.
As always. And hopefully next week we will learn more about Wade Watt's quest against the evil AI Anorak, who may or may not be a jacket.
You remembered his last name. I'm so proud of you.
Well, it was like, the Peter Parker thing. It was the Marvel, Wade Watts, Henry Higgins. I know he's not Marvel, but still it counts.
You're doing so well there for a moment.
Look, I can only do so much modern pop culture before I revert back to old musicals, Danielle. You know this.
We're looking for weird musicals, too. If anybody has any suggestions, feel free to give us a shout out.
All right. Well, with that, we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
I think it's just not a very good English word. Like, I think the consonant and vowel pairs, like the phoneme pairs do not come naturally to human speakers.
Exactly.
Not to human speakers, English speakers. I'm not that egoistic, I promise. Ethnocentric.
To all humans ever.
Yes, every human ever can't say this word.